All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Racha Kodash, Kal Halalim La Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors, as always, to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who taught us all this truth, and who also rule well. And Shalom to Allah Achim in this truth and sincerity, starting with the 144,000 and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which we are fighting to be a part of. And this is the brother Chabar Yakal coming back, Lord willing, with another quick and edifying lesson. And this lesson, I'm going to just do this quick lesson going into this article. Spain, Portugal, blackouts live. Officials race to identify cause after power supply finally restored. All right, and as it says, this is live. It was updated 16 minutes ago, so this is an ongoing, I guess article or whatever. But this is Spain's electricity operator had earlier all but ruled out a cyber attack as the cause of an outage, and basically the point that I wanted to get in bringing this article out is basically, when all hell breaks loose here in America, which according to biblical prophecy, America is the last kingdom before the kingdom of heaven is established, all right? America, NATO, the EU, these are the last of the heathens, and of course, Russia, China, all them other kingdoms, this is the, pretty much this is it for the heathen nations, which the heathens are the nations outside of the Israelites, which the Israelites are the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and also Israelite foreigners. All right, but, this is the last time that the heathen nations are ever going to rule before Yahweh Shai, which is the son of the Most High God. The Most High God, his name in the ancient Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh, which means he exists. His son's name, his only begotten son, is Yahweh Shai, which means he saves or he delivers. All right, and before Yahweh Shai rules, these heathens, this is the last time to rule. But I pretty much wanted to bring out the point of when this society collapse is going to be major blackouts. So it says authorities in Spain and Portugal are trying to find the cause of a mass electrical blackout across Spain, Portugal, and parts of France after the power is restored for tens of millions of people. All right. And we're going to come into a time where America is going to be completely in a complete blackout. All right. Whether it be from so-called cyber attacks, allegedly, whether it be from, an EMP attack, which is electromagnetic pulse, which comes from a nuclear explosion. They explode a nuke like, I forget how many miles above whatever country or city they're trying to do a blackout. They'll detonate a nuke like way up in the atmosphere, and it'll send a shockwave of an EMP, just knock everything out. All right. But what do you think is going to happen when those missiles hit America? All right. But the point because America is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles, ICBMs, and that's biblical prophecy. All right. Malachi 4:1 speaks about it. 2 Peter 3:10. All right. Revelation 17, Revelation 18, Salakia. All right. Revelation 15 goes into the sea of glass, mingled with fire. So it's plethora of prophecies that speak on America's destruction, the destruction of Babylon the Great. In 1 hour, it's going to be destroyed. But even before it's destroyed, it's going to be all hell breaking loose, darkness, which was one of the plagues of ancient Egypt, which America is modern day Egypt. So, that darkness is going to come back. So Spain's high court will investigate whether a cyber attack may have caused one of Europe's most severe blackouts, which plunged the Iberian Peninsula into darkness. Power has now returned to households in Spain and neighboring Portugal, with the after effects still being felt. Investigators are still looking into the cause of the blackout, which remains unclear. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has vowed to not let this ever happen again. You know, but guess what? It is going to happen again. You know, not only in America, but it's going to happen in Europe when Jacob's trouble happens, which is the worst time that the planet Earth has ever seen. All right. I'm going to get a scripture in Amos, but I'm going to get this first. You know, it's the worst time that the planet Earth has ever seen. All right. So I'm going to get it real quick. Because Jacob's trouble is mainly going to be in America, but it's going to be a global event. Meaning great tribulation is going to be happening all over the planet during this time, you know. Of course, there'll be certain countries that aren't really as affected as others, you know. And the scripture says a man shall desire to go into a city. So, you know, if there's any countries that's more safe than others during this time, you know, people won't be able to even get in there. You know, they're going to block it off. All right. Because there is neutral countries, you know, that won't get hit with nukes. There's countries that aren't going to get hit that bad. But Jacob's trouble will be a global event, all right? This is Jeremiah 30:7. It says, alas, for that day is great, all right? And the day just represents a time period, you know? It's not an actual day, you know? It might be a few weeks, you know? Who knows? But it's not going to be a super elongated amount of time, all right? It says, so the day great is, oh my goodness, Salaki. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. All right, and I already mentioned the Israelites, you know, being you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You are the seed of Jacob, all right? Who was Jacob? He's the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, all right? It says, but he shall be saved out of it, which is the elect, okay? So all Israelites aren't going to be destroyed. The elect is going to be saved, all right? And notice it says, it's the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. You can't fit any other nations in there, all right? Because salvation is only for the seed of Jacob. You know, it says, but he shall be saved out of it. The he is referring to the elect of Jacob, all right? I mean, really, you could just say it's referring to Jacob, you know. But where does the other nations come into that? It doesn't say, but he and Moab and Edom and Ham shall be saved out of it. No, it just says, but he shall be saved out of it. Jacob, the elect. 2/3 aren't even going to be saved out of it. So I'm going to get this in Amos 8. Another point that I wanted to bring out with that, you know, because it was thought-provoking, you know, seeing those blackouts. It's lucky. Seeing those blackouts made me think, you know, hey, get this word while you still can. How are you going to, you know, watch the videos? How are you going to study the scriptures? You know, go into the Blue Letter, you know, download the Bible app. All right. You know, watch the apostles, you know, watch the different breakdowns. And there's a blackout. How are you going to do that? So get this word while you still can. All right. This is Amos 8:11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So this time is fastly approaching, and that blackout, you know, could be a big part of it, you know. Anytime they do something big like that in another country, it's just a trial run for over here in America, you know. Like how they do different little, you know, trial runs with, you know, like how China has that social credit system. They're gonna bring that over here. You know how different various different countries, going the way of central banking. Just an example. They always do trial runs in other countries. All right, those are the only examples I can think of though. But that made me think of, the famine of the word, though, seeing those blackouts over there in Portugal and Spain. It says, millions of people were in the dark. That wasn't some small thing, man. And that's gonna come over here in America. So get this word while you still can. All right. This is a famine of the words of the Lord is worse than the actual famine. All right. Which an actual famine is coming as well too. But that's why it's worse, because the ones who have this word, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time. The Lord is going to feed them in that day, the ones that have this word and believe it. So get it while you still can, all right? It says, and they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east, they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. All right? It says, in that day shall the fair virgins and the young man faint for thirst. So in that day, then they're going to want the truth. Then they're going to want to hear the words of the Lord. Right now, our 2/3 of our people are in the spirit of, like what it says in Isaiah, speak unto us smooth things, don't tell us the truth. Tell us what we want to hear. Tell us smooth things, but when the famine of the word comes, then they're not going to be in that spirit. Then they're going to want to get the 100% truth. Because, hey, people talk about how, oh, you guys curse, I don't like your delivery, Well, what's worse, us being a little rough when teaching you the words that will be able to save your soul, the engrafted word which is able to save your soul, or the Lord starving you to death because you were rebellious. So the Lord starves you and your family. What's worse? I'd rather be cursed out than starved to death. All right. But that's pretty much it. It's not Slaki. It's not much else. What was that? It says the investigation continues despite Spain's ruling out. It says of the outage which prompted travel chaos, left many without water, Wi-Fi, or mobile network for hours. These are things that we take for granted. All right. These are things that the average person takes for granted. Actually, I'm not even going to say we, because we thank the Lord for the things that we have. Hell, we should be thanking him every day we wake up, if we're not already. All right. But these people in the world, they take everything for granted. Being able to have lights, being able to have hot water, drive a car, these basic things, people take that for granted. But guess what? The Lord's going to take all that away from you people, and then you're going to have nothing. And that's why they're going to try to come after the men of the Lord. They're going to take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew. This whole time they've been taking everything for granted. And so it's all going to be, pulled from under them. Then they're going to want answers, They're going to want comfort. And they're not going to get it. Only the elect is. It says travel chaos continued into a second day. That's pretty much it. But yeah, Lord, in this lesson was edifying once again, giving our praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem